People shouldn't have to think to get the joke. If people spend too much time thinking, oops, you've made an error. You wrote it incorrectly, you delivered it incorrectly, you've got the formula wrong. Practically speaking, you're talking to people who are a little buzzed, maybe a little high, perhaps a tad tired, trying to relax. This isn't a lecture for students taking notes. This is a distracted audience of sedated feral cats that you have to corral. They are sedated. They're not angry feral cats, for the most part. Sometimes they're angry feral cats, but sleepy feral cats don't want to do math. You got to spoon feed them a little, and the spoon needs to have something tasty in it. Audiences aren't going to make the same mental leaps you did when you thought of the idea for the joke. You've got to connect the dots for them. You can't expect 200 different people in an audience to have the same individual eureka moment you did when you thought of the bit and it made you laugh to yourself. It would be beautiful if human minds connected in that way, but we're not quite at that level of telepathy yet. You have to walk them through it without them being aware that you're walking them through it. You're not giving them You're not giving them instructions. You can't be perceived as giving them instructions. It's more like they're tied to a leash that you're leading them around by. You're leading them through a joke maze attached to a leash. That's a pretty good analogy. You need some intelligence to think of the jokes, but you've got to be dumb to write them out and perform them in a way that will actually work. Like brainstorming the jokes might be kind of smart sometimes, but figuring out the punchlines and playing with the joke on stage, that's the work of an idiot. You can't be excessively dumb, right? You don't want to be drooling out the side of your mouth, but you got to be a little bit dumb. Your goal is to lead sedated feral cats around a joke maze by a leash. Who does that other than an idiot? What exactly are you trying to accomplish, right? It's nothing fancy. Have some humility about what you're doing. Like even starting down this path of becoming a comedian, you're a certified moron, okay? We're all certified morons. But yeah, you don't want people thinking during your jokes. You just want them paying attention and listening. Listening, not thinking. Paying attention but not listening. Listening, not thinking. Hypnosis. Hypnosis. It's not math, it's poetry. You want an audience that's hypnotized by silly poetry. This podcast is about the art of stand-up comedy. It's not the mathematics of stand-up comedy. Yes, there is a structure to comedy. There is a math to comedy, but it's also unstructured, very poorly defined, okay? You can't write a textbook. People get captivated by great art because it expresses something they struggle to put into words. Great comedy comes from a dumb person struggling to put words together. Paul Feig, I think that's how you say his name, Paul Feig. Dicey last name to have to say. But he's directed a number of successful comedy films and TV shows. He directed Bridesmaids, a very funny film. He did an interview with Mike Sachs for Sachs's book, Poking a Dead Frog. And in the interview, he said, "I think the main problem I see with comedy is that a lot of it is overwritten. And it's created by people who are very precious about their words. So what happens is there's no life in it. That's the key to comedy as far as I'm concerned. Lightning in a bottle. You have to capture that moment when it first happens because that's when it's funny." Personally, I come at comedy in many ways from the perspective of a writer. That's my strength. It's what I'm best at. So yes, I am also very precious about my words, and that is useful. It helps me in all sorts of ways. I hold myself to a standard. I very much labor over every sentence, phrase, word. I nitpick and revise and whittle away again and again and again. But, big but, all of that can also get in the way. I can get too attached to the words, and that takes me further away from feeling the feeling. The lightning moment gets lost, sort of buried in this milieu of my tactical syntactical revisions. What usually happens was my process, I have the sort of lightning in the bottle of dumb moment. I laugh to myself. I enjoy that. Then I overwrite around that idea. I end up with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 10, mostly unusable pages, and then I hack and chisel and whittle away until I have a page and a half of something I can actually put into action on stage to lead the sedated feral cats around by their leash. The writing almost always takes me away from the momentary flash of dumb, funny stuff. But I'll find more little kernels of dumb funniness as I go through the writing process. It's still worth something. The mathematics, the writing of comedy, it still leads you to more dumb kernels of funny. Trying to be smart with the subject matter can lead to more insights of dumb. That's what you're looking for, dumb insights. Thankfully, the ultimate test, being in front of the audience on stage, helps cut and carve it all out properly in the end. You always have that. All the kernels get tested in front of a live studio audience. That's where you get to the ultimate truth of whether you've got fun comedy poetry or a bunch of math equations that nobody likes. The seeds of stand-up comedy are all momentary flashes of feeling. Momentary, and I mean that, momentary. They're inklings of an attitude toward a subject that flit across your brain. They don't have to be persistent feelings. They don't have to be what registers with you at the core of your being forever and always. Jokes can just be a passing thought. Often the best jokes are just a passing thought, a whim. That's where the dumb lightning bolts come from. You're not trying to rationally walk people through an argument. You're leading sedated feral cats around on a leash. Now, this is important. When you're on stage entertaining the sedated feral cats, you do have to say what you really think and feel. The sedated feral cats do not like it when you lie to them. They can sniff that out and they will hiss at you. You have to share your real thoughts and feelings, but those don't have to be the things you think and feel consistently and persistently. They don't have to be your deep-seated beliefs. They can be the whim beliefs, the flitting across the brain beliefs. It doesn't have to be your real opinions and feelings that you would use in polite society. It just has to be your real opinions and feelings as a member of the species Homo sapiens, as someone who is participating in the human experience. The human experience is broad and deep. It's not just what we present on the surface in polite society. Jokes can be how the dumb version of you thinks and feels. That's what makes it fun. The idiot who doesn't have it all together and figured out. The fool. The fool who doesn't know he's a fool. That guy's a lot of fun. He thinks he's king of the sedated feral cats. You gotta get in touch with that fella a little bit. He knows funny.